Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Mole Hole with the hardest working sports announcer in St. Louis that nobody's ever heard of. He's Randy Molman, and the show starts now. Well, good morning, St. Louis. Here on KXOK 102.9 FM, 92.9 FM KWRH. Welcome, all you Mole Hole fans. Notice I did not use that plural. All you Mole Hole fan. This is Randy Molman. What a beautiful day here in November. Feels like it's August. It's going to be nice and sunny, 70-something degrees. We're going to talk Mizzou football here today. Mizzou football ranked 9th in the college football poll. How about that? Yeah. Number 9 in the country. Yes. Jumped a bunch of other teams. Talk about that. We'll talk a little NFL football today. But to start off, I have Director of Athletic Communications and Broadcasting for SIUE, my man Joe Pott, joining me here in the show this morning. Joe calling in all the way from Mobile, Alabama. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Can you imagine if the Tigers had gotten LSU or Georgia, just one of those, where they would be?
Oh, my goodness. They'd be in the discussion for the playoff.
For sure they would. Yeah.
Because they'd be right up there at 6 or 7 probably, and right there. But, yeah. And LSU was the game, right? I mean, that was the game.
It was there. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that was the game they could have had. I never really, as big a Mizzou fan as I am, I don't know I was saying before the game, I couldn't name one team in the country that I would say, oh yeah, they could walk into Athens and win. You know?
You're right.
So LSU was that game. But we want to talk this morning a little bit about, I want to put some more light here in the St. Louis metro area on the work SIUE men's soccer has done this year. NCAA tournament starts today, right?
That is correct. They'll play at Memphis tonight.
Talk about their season. The only undefeated soccer team in the country left in the NCAA. Is that right?
At least at the Division I level, and
yeah.
And it has been it's been fantastic. It's been so fun to watch. I think most soccer people anyway in St. Louis understand the history and tradition that is there at SIUE, but it's been a while since there's been a season like this, and it has been really fun to be a part of it and at least, watch from afar.
As you were a part of it and watched it unfold, do you think when they won the bronze boot at City Park, when they beat SLU, do you think at that moment, maybe in your head, I know in mine watching that game, that SIUE dominated that game or that match. And I remember getting up from that PA microphone and saying to myself, that's a really, really good soccer team. Like, did it hit you at that point? This team might be special after that win.
I felt like that before that game.
Oh,
I
you
felt
did?
Like it was going to be, I just felt like they had an experienced group. And I thought good things were coming from that bronze boot game. I felt good about it. You can feel good about it and still have it not go your way. It had been 40 years prior to that point. And there's lots of good SIUE teams that have come and gone in those 40 years that, hadn't been able to get SLU, hadn't been able to get the rival. But certainly, yes, at that point, after that game, I felt like, yeah, this is this could be a really cool year. I think still I wouldn't probably have told you that I thought they would get through the year and get into the tournament without a loss.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
I mean, 16-0-3. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a historic season. They win. If they win against Memphis, they get to travel to number 3 in the bracket, North Carolina, who's a top 10 team. I mean, they're with the elites now. I mean, they're knocking on the door of even more history.
Yeah, no, you are exactly right. And that is what I think has been so cool about seeing the way that Cale Wasserman and the rest of this team has gone about it, is that it's literally a step at a time. So right now the focus is Memphis, and you get Memphis, right. And then, like you said, you've got that game right in front of you, but they've done that all season long. It's just focus on that game that's right in front of you, those 90 minutes that are next to be played, and I think that's why they've been so successful.
What's been you've called most of their games this year as the main broadcaster for SIUE men's soccer. What do you think has been? What have you seen? What has been the key this year that has elevated them to this level?
Well, I think I said it before. I would think it's experience, and I think it's specifically experience in the back. They have 2 center backs. They don't even always play center back, but they have 4 on that back line that are super experienced. Specifically, Will Harris, who is the defender of the year in the league, and you've got Aaron Crabtree, who can play a center back, who can play outside. You've got Seth Karenik, who is a senior. You've got Wes Gibson, who has really come into his own after really not being a starter up until this season. You have a very experienced goalkeeper in Sam Gomez, who is a Webster Groves High School product, who is one of the best goalkeepers in the nation, top 5 in save percentage, in goals against average, in shutouts. He's got 10 shutouts this year. So I think it starts there with the defense and the experience that they have on defense. But that said, they're really good offensively too. So they are a well-rounded team.
Well, I mean, what is the give everyone the broadcast information for tonight? Where can everyone watch SIUE men's soccer?
Yeah, it's an ESPN Plus broadcast. It'll be put on by folks at Memphis. I think it's actually a Memphis TV station. Jeff Brightwell, who's been doing Memphis stuff, Memphis athletic stuff for a while, will do the play-by-play. He's called games that SIUE has played there previously. And by the way, this is not an opponent that SIUE is not familiar with. They played in the preseason. Memphis was in Edwardsville in the preseason. SIUE won that game. They played here in Edwardsville last season. It was a 1-1 draw. So they have played several times here recently. But yes, ESPN Plus, normal live stats will be available as well, but it's a 7:00 kickoff there in Memphis.
Unbelievable. Tune in, everybody. SIUE men's soccer, a Division I soccer program in our region. I know that SIUE doesn't always get the St. Louis area coverage, but I wanted to shed some light on that because, wow, I mean, this a historic season, and they're in the NCAA tournament, and it starts tonight. The run starts tonight. So Joe Pott joining us, Director of Athletic Communications and Broadcasting at SIUE. I want to paint a little broader picture of SIUE. Talk a little bit about the footprint SIUE is starting to take hold of, not just in the Evansville area or Edwardsville and surrounding area, but also the St. Louis metro area. New athletic director Andrew Gavin has brought some crazy energy and focus to the athletic department and the athletic teams at SIUE. And there's some exciting times, some exciting things happening, aren't there?
I like the word you used in energy, because I think that it really is kind of a renewed energy. Andrew Gavin is willing to maybe kind of push some boundaries, do some things that haven't been tried. They've redone a little bit of First Community Arena for the basketball programs, as you well know. So now you come to a game and it's more than just, go sit in your seat and watch a game. There are things going on that south mezzanine. You can get some new food items. There's a Cougar Red beer, a Cougar Red ale that is a partnership between SIUE and Old Herald Brewery in Collinsville, that Andrew and Jake Sutter, our associate athletic director, worked on. There's a partnership with Chick-fil-A. There's a partnership with Urban Chestnut Brewing that's going to be presenting a new coaches show that we're really going to start rolling out at Global Brew in Edwardsville. They're doing a lot in the community. So energy, I think, is the appropriate word, because they're trying to inject that energy. And to this point, I think it's been really successful. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for fans to be involved with SIUE athletics, however that is, whether it's just coming to a game or being out at an event that SIUE is at. It's been awesome.
You've been a part of the SIUE community a little longer than I have on a day-to-day basis, but I've noticed, and you may have just spoke to it, but I've noticed anything that I've attended recently, the coaches show we did preseason, the sort of a rally or an event that we had before that, there's a thirst for SIUE athletics over there. There's people wanting to be involved, isn't there?
100%. Randy, and you, you are part of it, and you have seen it over the years, and I know you've seen it grow to this point, but it's like that it's growing more, and you know, the event both those events you talk about, going out and being there, and that's one of the things that Andrew is specifically focused on, is bringing SIUE into the community. So of course we're asking the community, come to our games, come support us. But on the other side of that is, we're saying, but we're going to be in your community as well. We're going to support you. We're going to be a part of that community. And I think that is what makes a difference. And I think that that makes folks want to be involved, right? They want to be invested in that, because SIUE is going to be invested in their community too.
Joe Pott joining me this morning, Director of Athletic Communications and Broadcasting for SIUE. Joe, the basketball season has gotten underway. SIUE, you know, after last season's win at St. Louis and the 19-win season, there's some buzz around SIUE men's basketball this year. This team looks to be an exciting team. And by the way, the other night at Mizzou Arena, they hung around and hung with the SEC team for a good 2.5 quarters.
Here is what is frustrating from an SIUE standpoint for me, is they didn't play a full game for the second year in a row going down to Mizzou.
Yeah.
And I get that that's going to happen playing against a more experienced, a deeper team, a bigger team in Mizzou. But I don't think Mizzou saw the best of SIUE. Now, what I will tell you is they also held Mizzou to 68 points. And last year it was 100 and something points. So one of the things that I think is going to be really good about this men's side is the defense is going to be really good. They opened the year at Dayton, held Dayton under 70 points, Mizzou under 70 points. So I think the defense will travel. Now, the team that you're going to be traveling with on the women's side, it might be the other way around. They're going to score 90, but they might give up 95. I mean, that's going to be the issue there. So it's going to be two different seasons, I think, men and women. But the defense, I think, is going to be really good with this men's team. And I think when they get to be a little bit more consistent scoring-wise, yeah, I think that it's another good season is on the horizon for sure.
Yeah, I mean, picked at the top of the OVC in preseason, right up there at the top to challenge for the league title. And, you know, wow, how exciting would that be? And a lot of respect in the conference for Coach Baroni and SIUE men's basketball, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. And I think that, I mean, you've been around Brian enough to know, you know, what kind of coach he is, what kind of person he is. He comes from a coaching background. He comes from a very strong family background, and he wants to inject that into basketball and into his team. And he's been really good at doing that. And I think all of that, you know, culminated into what you saw last year. And now, you know, what's the next step? And that's what the Cougars are looking to take. You
mentioned SIUE women's basketball. I called another one yesterday where it was 86-82 final. But, you know, SIUE women's basketball has lost at the buzzer and then lost a game where they took the Missouri Valley Conference champion wire to wire. This SIUE women's basketball team and the flip side to that is, those are tough losses, but that brand of basketball is going to attract fans. It's a track meet. They're running up and down the floor. They're shooting. They took 38 threes yesterday. There's going to be days where they hit 20 of those. And this is a fun team to watch on the women's side, isn't it?
It is going to be a really fun season. And the other thing, Randy, and you well know this, and obviously Samantha Quigley-Smith knows this, you play these kind of games, you have these kind of battles before December, and then you get into the Ohio Valley Conference, and you're in really good shape to have success inside the Ohio Valley Conference because of the schedule that you've played and traversed already in the non-conference. And what about KK Rodriguez in the season she's having? She's been fantastic this year.
KK Rodriguez, Webster Groves high school alum, another Webster Groves alum succeeding at SIUE. Hey, all you Webster alums, what are you looking at? Get to SIUE. Let's go. KK having 64 points in her last 2 games. She has been unbelievable. She is possessed. She has been unbelievable. You know, I do feel like there's a similarity with the men's and women's team in that the men's team has a veteran or two that team feeds off of and plays through, and their success or sometimes lack of is in direct correlation to a couple of players that are either performing or having an off night. And I think on the women's side, it's definitely KK Rodriguez. On the men's side, Rayshawn Taylor, right?
Yeah, Rayshawn, and I think DeMarco Minor.
Oh, yeah,
DeMarco
DeMarco Minor
in his second year. But, man, I think both of those two. And then you have obviously a couple of really experienced guys in Shamar and Lamar Wright who are playing their fifth year for Coach Baroni. But it is true. And I think that ultimately, I think that both teams are going to be really well set up when it gets to OVC season. And at this level, that's what honestly matters. And that's what needs to be the case, is that you're playing your best basketball come the turn of the year. And I think I really do think both of them are going to be in really good shape come OVC season.
Joe Pott joining me, Director of Athletic Communications and Broadcasting for SIUE. Now, Joe, I know you cover some St. Louis Cardinals stuff and over at KMOX, but I wanted to ask you before I let you go. I would be remiss if I didn't say, because I've talked about it on the show. I know you've talked about it on the airwaves and maybe probably even off the air when you're around the quote unquote water cooler. How are the Cardinals going to upgrade an entire pitching staff in one offseason? I contend that we're in for another pretty average season, that it's going to take a year or two for them to correct this and get it right.
It's really hard for me to think otherwise. I'm not sure. And that, part of it too, Randy, is it's not like it's a secret. It's not like everybody in the league doesn't know what the Cardinals need and what they are going to be going after.
Right. I mean, but everybody needs starting pitching.
They do.
Right.
So, but it's not, it's so it's hard for me. It's not like there's any kind of stunner deal that can be pulled off. Right. I don't expect that to be the case. You're for one thing, just going to have to spend some money, probably an uncomfortable amount of money if you're Bill DeWitt and the Cardinals. That's what I think. And I know they can. I don't know if they will. I'm waiting to see if they will. But yeah, it's just it does feel like there's a lot to do between now and February when spring training camps get underway.
I mean, I do feel like they took step one, which was try to restock, right? Like in the minor leagues, they made some trades at the deadline last year. They got some arms that, from all accounts, they've got some arms that project at some point to get to the major leagues, and they needed to do that. So step one was to try to restock in the minor leagues a little bit. Right?
For sure, because the other thing, your prospects have to pay off in one of two ways. Your prospects have to pay off by getting to the big leagues, or your prospects have to pay off by getting you big leaguers, right?
Right.
So you're exactly right. You have to start there, get the guys in your system that you can either then use to upgrade your major league roster, or they're going to upgrade your major league roster. You've got the minor league hits leader, and Thomas Sujasi came over in those deals. They do have some arms. So now, let's see what they do with them.
I contend, and I know Cardinal fans don't like it, but I contend, yes, next year is going to be a pretty average year again, because I just don't see them going out and spending money on 2 to 3 starters. And look, they need 2 or 3 bullpen arms that have swing and miss stuff. There's still, you can't go get 2 or 3 starters, and then in the 6th and 7th inning, you've got no one to throw out there that can protect leads. So
I did like what they got back. They got John King back.
Yeah.
The one big leaguer they got in those deals. So I like that. Questions on whether Ryan Helsley is going to be fully healthy. I like the fact that he finished the year in the major leagues. I think that bodes well for him having a decent off season, a regular off season. Now, obviously, Gallegos is a little bit of a question mark because he did not finish the year on the major league roster health-wise. So, but you're right. There is a lot. They still need a lot in order to be successful.
Yes.
The good thing is the Central Division is not the toughest division to try to contend in.
I was not very happy to see Craig Counsell go to the Cubs, though. That was
a little bit of a shocker, right?
I know. He just. I mean, wow. Brewers fans have to be incensed.
The Brewers, from what I understand, were going to make him the highest paid manager, and the Cubs are like, oh, just wait a minute. Watch what we do.
Hold my beer situation.
Correct.
Joe Pott, thank you for joining me this morning. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're busy. I know the men are playing in a classic this weekend. Talk a little bit about that. SIUE men's basketball. Where can people listen in or watch men's basketball this weekend?
Yep. So the first two games will be their neutral site games. So the Cougars will see Denver and then Nichols here tonight and tomorrow. Both those games are on. Tonight is going to be on the network, so we'll be online. We'll also be, I believe, on KXOK right here on 102.9 tomorrow night. So 5 o'clock tonight, 6 o'clock tomorrow night, which will also air on 88.7 FM. And then on Sunday afternoon, it's a noon start against the host, South Alabama. That one will be on ESPN+.
All right. Joe Pott, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and go enjoy your breakfast.
Always good. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Joe Pott joining me here in the show this morning, and I'm gonna talk glowingly about Joe Pott. Joe Pott has been a broadcaster of sports for well over 20 years. He was the longtime play-by-play voice of the Gateway Grizzlies. He started his broadcast work at Dayton when he was a student there. He's been calling SIUE games now for a long time. He was there during the transition from D2 to D1. And he does work at KMOX pre and post game for the Cardinals. And he if you've listened to his work, he's a traditional, descriptive, or when you listen to the broadcasters of my era, our era, Mark, you grow up listening to those types of broadcasts. That's the style Joe Pott has. And he is so good. And I love listening to him because I'll catch things during broadcasts where I go, ooh, I should probably do that more in my broadcasts, because sometimes I got to be honest. If those of you who've heard me call games, there's a moment or two where I get a little excitable. And there's some stuff that I could probably clean up from time to time. Just, the language, the descriptiveness. And Joe is just so good and even keel and strong. Great broadcasters, words and descriptiveness come to them, like in seconds. And I'm getting there. I'm trying to be as good. I'm trying to get better with every broadcast I do. But Joe Pott is one of the gems in the St. Louis area. And there should be hopefully big opportunities for Joe going forward at a bigger, on a bigger stage, because he deserves it. He's so good. So Joe Pott joining me this morning. And by the way, I know like the only station in town that covered SIUE men's soccer did a couple stories was KSTK Channel 5 here in St. Louis. Kudos to you guys, Frank Cusimano and that whole crew. No other station has really covered them. And they're on a historic season. I guarantee you, this is no shot at St. Louis University. But if St. Louis University men's soccer was 16-0-3, there'd be stories every 5 minutes about that program. So SIUE is just 20 minutes outside of downtown. It is St. Louis metro area. We should be getting coverage of SIUE athletics in this town. And one of the reasons I'm so happy to be a part of KXOK is the coverage of SIUE athletics here in St. Louis. So anyway, Joe, thanks for joining in this morning. Great stuff. ESPN Plus for SIUE men's soccer tonight, 7 o'clock against Memphis in the NCAA tournament. I had a big day yesterday. Before we go to break, I'll just, I'm sure everyone will be very...
you won the lottery?
No, God, I wouldn't be here.
Okay.
Mark, I'd have texted you this morning, Mark, and I said, I got a conflict. I'm rolling on my bed in cash. I called SIUE women's basketball at Illinois State yesterday, Normal, Illinois, drove up to Normal, called the game. Cougars battled and lost by 4. What a great game. Drove immediately back to St. Louis, went home, kissed the wife, changed clothes, went down to Chaffetz Arena and did public address for St. Louis University women's basketball.
Wow.
They played Missouri State. Wow. And it was a very good game. SLU ended up winning. Congratulations to the SLU women on that. So I covered worked 2 games yesterday, double dipped yesterday.
Wow.
Everyone's like, does your wife get upset that you're never around? And my short answer is, I don't think so.
Happy about it.
Yeah. Wait, you're going to be gone all day?
You're all right, Randy, when you're not around.
Right. Look, I get it. Me in small doses is probably better for everybody. All right, you're listening to The Mole Hole here on KXOK and KWRH. When we come back, how about Mizzou football? M-I-Z. We're going to talk about them when we come back right after this.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
Are you a company who needs help recruiting and hiring full-time professionals in the areas of engineering or information technology? Then call Steve Tucker at Talent Edge. Steve has over 25 years experience in recruiting as a partner and can really give you the edge you need. Also, calling all candidates looking for new opportunities in engineering or IT. Steve will help match your skill set to the right opportunity. 314-276-0074 or check out Talent Edge at talentedgellc.net. Once again, 314-276-0074. Talent Edge. Height Digital is a full-service digital marketing agency that helps local businesses grow online. They offer everything from logo and branding to website design, search engine optimization, and paid advertising on Google and Facebook. Height was just named to the top marketing agency list for 2022 by St. Louis Small Business Monthly. Contact them today for a free digital audit to see how you can grow. That's Height Digital, HITE digital.com/ST-Louis. Join us on November 23rd, Thanksgiving Day, for the annual Turkey Day game between the Webster Grove Statesmen and the Kirkwood Pioneers. Michael Langston will join me, Randy Molman, in the broadcast booth to bring you all the action. It is the Turkey Day game, one of the most historic rivalries in high school football, not to mention one of the coolest traditions in the country. It's Webster Groves versus Kirkwood. Turkey Day, kickoff set for 12 noon, right here on KXOK. We are back in the Mole Hole, and boy, I love to hear the Turkey Day promo, baby. I get so excited about the Turkey Day game. It's been a little lopsided the last 5, 6, 7 years. Kirkwood has owned Webster Groves, but the Statesmen are on the rise. They won three games for the first time in several years this year. They're getting better. There's more kids in the football program, so I think this game's going to be a little more interesting than in most years. And 12 noon, right here on KXOK and KWRH. Michael Langston and I on the call. Now, I'm throwing around compliments with Joe Potmark. I gotta throw out some compliments with your boy Michael Langston. I love that kid. Michael Langston and I have such a good time on the broadcast.
He really enjoys it.
I love people who come to the broadcast and work with me that come prepared.
He loves it.
He is well prepared. He does his research.
Yeah.
He's got his tag boards. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
And we keep it light too. We have a good time. We have fun. We talk about our favorite turkey meal dishes and what our families make every year that we love. Right. It's a good time. It's a fun broadcast. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Kirkwood and Webster have been doing this for about 100 years.
Yeah. 1928
for the Turkey Day game, but the rivalry extends even more than that. They've played over 100 times.
Wow.
Over the years. And I do think it was either Sporting News or Sports Illustrated many, many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, did a whole spread on that Turkey Day game in their magazine talking about the best high school rivalries in the country.
Wow.
and traditions, that is still one of them. You won't find a tradition like this where every year, no matter what, these two are going to play on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And even in years where one of the varsity programs is still alive in the state tournament, they'll still play the game, and it'll be a JV game.
Right.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so they play the game every year.
Now, they missed COVID? Did they miss COVID? That's the only time I can think of.
Yeah, that might be the only year that. Well, I think there's been a blips here and there, like 50 years ago.
Whatever.
There might have been something that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
wow.
for the most part,
No.
it has been, the Frisco Bell. The winner gets the Frisco Bell, and Kirkwood has owned that bell for far too long. But it's going to be again. I mean,
way too long.
It'll be great tradition. Kirkwood. Here's the other thing that always gets me about that Turkey Day game. Webster has not, admittedly, Webster football program has been down. It wasn't that long ago. Webster was one of the powerhouses in this area for football.
Yeah.
And they're making a comeback already. They're starting to get better and better.
Yeah.
Webster has not been very good. The game has not been close for several years.
No.
Yet it is standing room only at the stadium, whether it's at Kirkwood or at Webster. That's the other thing that makes the tradition so great, is the fans and communities get in it. And it doesn't matter what the records are. It doesn't matter if one team's better than that. And it doesn't matter if it's a JV game. In Webster Groves, in the school district of Webster Groves, in the school district of Kirkwood, Thanksgiving Day is the Turkey Day game. Yeah. The families and the people that live in those communities, they build their Thanksgiving around that game. Yeah. And since we've been living in that area, we've done the same.
Yeah. We're doing it ourselves in our family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it's like. What are you doing on Thanksgiving? What's the plan? Well, the plan is to wake up.
Yeah.
Well, for me, wake up and go to the stadium and get prepped for the game. But for even my family, wake up, get everyone all packed up.
Yep.
Fill up a cooler with some sodas and waters, and my wife might sip on a cocktail or two, and then
Bloody Mary.
some snacks, some Thanksgiving themed snacks. Get to do a little tailgating, and then
it's a lot of fun.
Go to the game, and then you go home, you change clothes, and you head to whichever family you're going to for Thanksgiving. I mean, that's part of the deal in those communities.
And fill up. Yeah,
it is so great. It is phenomenal, and I love it. I love being a part of it since we moved in there.
And I think last year, Webster Groves, I think they got the first touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
And then
that was kind of exciting.
It was
like, wow,
look what's happening. And then Kirkwood won big. But yeah, the last time it was close was several years ago. Coach Cliff Ice was still the coach at Webster before he retired, and Webster had a down year in it was his last year. They had a down year that year. Kirkwood, everyone thought they would blow Webster out. And Coach Ice, over the 3 or 4 weeks between their last game and the Turkey Day game, created a brand new running option style offense that they had never run all season. And it confused Kirkwood to the point where Webster scored like 25, 27 points, but allowed 50 something. Yeah. So, but it was a wildly entertaining game. Anyway, the Turkey Day game right here, KXOK and KWRH. Myself, Michael Langston will be on the call, and we can't wait for that. I really can't wait for that. It's one of my favorite games to cover and do. Yeah. So great.
It's fun.
It is.
There's nothing like a good, fun game.
A good, fun, traditional yearly event. It's an event in Webster and Kirkwood. It's an event. And that's the other thing. I talk about the lack of media coverage at SIUE, but every station in St. Louis, TV-wise, will have a camera there. Yeah. Because it's the Turkey Day.
Yeah.
Even the stations and the media in town know it.
So. At Lions Stadium at Kirkwood, beautiful place.
Oh, what a great facility.
And next year, Webster.
It'll be the new Webster press box, new field at Moss Field, new stands. Like, they're revamping the entire thing. They're putting turf in. They've got new stands. They're going to have a new press box. That's going to be next year. It'll be fun to be at Moss Field for that game. Yeah. Anyway, can't wait for that. Yeah. Can't wait for that. So, Mizzou football. I could not believe they went from number 14 to number 9. Now, first, let's talk about the game last Saturday. It has been a while. I have been doing public address there since 2010. This is my 14th season. There's a handful of games I remember where I was like, oh my God, that was incredible. But I don't remember seeing complete and utter domination of a team that was supposed to be as good as you, if not a little better.
Right.
According to all the pundits. Mm-hmm. Tennessee was 13th in the CFP poll. We were 14th. Right. We dominated Tennessee. Missouri dominated the game. And Cody Schrader.
Lutheran South.
No Division I program wanted him. He goes to Truman State, plays Division II, leads all Division II in rushing, and then says, I'm going to bet on myself. I want to go to a Division I school.
Yeah. And Denver like say, come on. And then they said, no, Denver North or something. I think they invited him, the college in Denver. Was it Denver?
Oh,
I think they were going to take him.
I think he wanted to bet on himself in Power 5. I think.
Okay.
So he gets, of course, Coach Drink says, yeah, come on. Because he comes in as a walk-on.
Yeah.
Division II leader in rushing comes in as a walk-on. And he has worked and built himself into the leading running back in the SEC, one of the top running backs in the country. Mm-hmm. 200 yards rushing last week, over 100 yards receiving. First time ever in SEC history that a tailback has rushed for over 200 yards.
Wow.
And had over 100 yards receiving in the same game. You're talking about a conference that has spit out running backs like Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson and Derrick Henry and all of these crazy George Rogers from South Carolina, all of these crazy tailbacks that have been NFL superstars. None of them ever did in college what Cody Schrader did on Saturday.
No.
Over 200 yards rushing, over 100 yards receiving. Now, here's the other thing. Last week, what did I say? Tennessee has the top rush defense in the SEC and one of the best rush defenses in the country, and Missouri loves to run the ball.
Right.
It's going to be the two strengths going at each other. What's going to happen? You saw what happened. Mizzou said, I don't care how good your rushing game is. We are going to ram this thing down your throat, and we're going to continue to do it the entire game.
They did.
And they just pulled their pants up and looked at Tennessee and punched them in the mouth and said, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Tennessee did not have an answer. And it makes me so happy because Josh Heupel, their head coach, who came from Mizzou, was a Mizzou offensive coordinator under Barry Odom for a couple of years.
Okay.
But that guy is so cocky and talks. He's a passive aggressive cocky coach. Like he talks sort of, he's there's something about him that's really aggravating when he's not on your side. And to see pictures of him on the sideline during the game, watching a Missouri team just absolutely destroy him. I mean, from top to bottom, coaching to the play on the field, Mizzou it was. And I don't know if did you and I know Michael got up on the Jumbotron. I got to see that.
It's crazy.
Did you guys stay for the whole thing all the way to the end?
We never leave till the end.
Did you do what we did in the press box? We're winning. What was it? 29-7. And I'm thinking to myself, I want more points.
Right. We said the same thing. We said we
dominate this team. So I want it to look horrible. And then the pick six.
Yeah.
At the end, the interception return for touchdown. We're in the press box. And when Dalen Carnell caught that pass, and we could tell he had a clear shot at the end zone. Everyone in the press box, we all were like, yeah, like more points.
It was crazy.
We're supposed to be a little bit more professional than that in the press box, but we were not at that moment.
We are Mizzou fans.
But
can't help it.
Here are my thoughts on the ranking jump, because my thought was, okay, We're number 14. We beat number 13. Now, we beat them handily, but we didn't beat number 1 or number 2 or number 3. We beat number 13. So I thought, okay, here's the scenario. Louisville was ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon State was ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State was ahead of us. And Ole Miss. Ole Miss was number 8. Penn State was number 9. Penn State lost a relatively close game to Michigan at home, but they didn't get destroyed. They lost to Michigan. Michigan's number 3, right? So I was like, I don't know if we have a chance to jump Penn State. They lost to number 3. We beat number 13. We have the same record as Penn State. Penn State's 2 losses, by the way, were before last week, before it changed to Georgia being number 1, was Ohio State number 1 and Michigan number 3. Those were Penn State's losses. So I was like, I don't know how we jumped them. We lost to LSU, who's 15, and Georgia, who's 3. So you look at those same schedules, Penn State's probably still ahead of us. Then Ole Miss gets beat by Georgia, and I'm thinking, okay, who did Ole Miss lose to? They're 8-2 now. They lost to Georgia just like we did. Now, so my thought was, I don't know that we'll jump Ole Miss or Penn State. I don't think we're going to go that high. I think there's a chance we could jump Louisville, who barely won by 7 over Virginia. Virginia's terrible. And Oregon State, who beat Stanford. I mean, hammered Stanford, but Stanford's no good. So I thought, wow, there's a chance we might just move up 1 spot to 13. Maybe because we're in the SEC, maybe because we handled Tennessee, who's the 13th ranked team. Maybe we'll jump 1 of Louisville or Oregon State and get to 12. Long shot, we get to 11. I'm telling you, I think the reason we jumped to 9 had everything to do with how bad Ole Miss lost to Georgia. Georgia at home beat Ole Miss 52-17. We lost 30-21. We were in the game with Georgia middle of the 4th quarter.
Right.
And I do think that committee looked at that and said, okay, this Missouri team just hammered the number 13 team in the country, dominated them, and played Georgia close in Athens. We just watched the number 8 team, Ole Miss, get destroyed by Georgia. So maybe this Missouri team's better than we're giving them credit for. And then acted accordingly in the rankings. Jumped us above Louisville, jumped us above Oregon State, and put us number 9. I'm shocked because Missouri usually doesn't garner that kind of respect on a national perspective.
No.
Pleasantly surprised. We're 1 spot behind Alabama. Alabama's number 8.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Georgia wasn't number 1 either for a little
No, they
bit.
were number 2.
And
now they're number 1.
Yeah. It's like, how
and
can
you know
that
what
be?
people were saying when they were doing the analysis of Georgia jumping up? They're saying, well, they handled number 8 Ole Miss. And then they said, and they were able to beat a very tough Missouri team who just handled Tennessee.
Right.
So they were giving props and saying one of the reasons Georgia got bumped to 1 was the fact that they beat Missouri. So like Missouri's getting all kinds of respect here.
Right. Good point.
It is
Great point.
refreshing to see.
It is.
Oh my goodness.
When did that last happen?
I mean, national respect for Missouri?
Or?
Wow. As Chris Berman would say on NFL Countdown, Missouri? Kirk Herbstreit on the CFP presentation show said, I'm really glad to see Missouri at number 9. They deserve it. What a great football team. Wow. I mean, dude, I'm over the moon with how
should be
what's going on with Missouri football. They get Florida this week. It's a 6:30 game, senior day, almost a sellout. Come on, grab those tickets. Let's make it a 5 game in a row sellout. Let's go. Here's the issue with that is it is the weekend that starts Thanksgiving week break for the students, number 1.
Right.
And number 2,
it's kind of
know, these Missouri sports fans, a lot of them are also deer hunters.
Ooh,
it's deer hunting season. And so
I didn't think of that. That's
so deer hunting has opened. So again, I know it's close to a sellout, but man, if we could do that, let's get that 5th game in a row sold out, and let's pack Faroe Field and honor those seniors. Mizzou, Florida, 6:30 on Saturday. Make it a weekend. Mizzou basketball plays on Sunday. Come on. Make it a weekend, everyone.
It was a tough basketball game last week.
Oh, the Memphis game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We almost came up for it. And then
it was crazy because Mizzou jumped out to a 14-point lead in the first half, halfway through the first half. And then Memphis clamped down. You got to hand it to Memphis. They do. That's a good program. They're always good. They're always ranked. And their leader is Penny Hardaway, who's a NBA All-Star for 10 years. That's a good program. But Missouri's offense just couldn't get going after building up the big lead. They got in a rut, and it just kept snowballing for the entire game. It was tough to watch. Mizzou bounced back and got the win Monday, as I talked about with Joe Pott against SIUE, but that was a close game for a long time, and then Mizzou pulled away in the second half. Mizzou plays tonight at Minnesota, Mizzou men's basketball in the Big Ten. That'll be an interesting test for the Tigers, and then they are back home on Sunday to play Jackson State. So, but wow, Mizzou football. First of all, I've said this before. There are a lot of Mizzou fans who were looking at this year and probably fairly saying, if they don't take a step away from being a 500 team, then our coach is probably on the hot seat.
Right.
Now, I look at that and I'm like, it makes me shudder when I think about starting over again with another coach, building another program.
Right.
Folks, I'm just being honest with you. It takes longer for a program like Missouri to rebuild to relevant levels in NCAA football than it does a program like Auburn or Florida or Ole Miss. And the reason for that is those programs have historic name brand in the SEC. Those programs are in fertile and the best recruiting regions for football in the country, the Southeast. The pockets of recruiting are in the Southeast, are the most elite players. Out west on the West Coast, elite players. The South, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, elite players. And then up north in the Ohio and Michigan areas. None of those regions are close to Columbia, Missouri. We get some good players that come out of this region, no doubt. The Luther Burdens and the Ryan Wingos and the Mookie Coopers. And we definitely get good players, but you cannot build an entire recruiting class in our recruiting region. You can't. You've got to reach out to Texas area. You've got to reach out to the Southeast. And those great elite players have name-branded, historic campuses and programs in their backyard. At Auburn, if you hire the right coach there, you can turn it around in 2 seasons. If you don't, you can fire a guy in 2 seasons because you can turn it around quicker.
Right.
You cannot do that in Columbia, Missouri. That's one of the reasons I was been rooting for Coach Drink, not to mention, I do think the players love him. I think he has, as a head coach, he's gotten better and better. Let's remember we hired him and he only had 1 year of head coaching experience at a small school.
Right.
You've got to give this guy some time to plant his roots, to put a program together, to build it up. And he's done it. And thank God he's done it, because the thought of having to go through this again, to hire another coach, go through an entire 3 to 4 year rebuild process. And then if it doesn't work, to start over again. Like I want now, like I wanted with Coach Pinkel, I want Coach Drink to be here for 20 years.
Yep.
He has quieted the critics, and he's turned 2 players, Brady Cook, who no other FBS team offered,
right?
No Power 5 team offered, and he's turned him into a winning quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah.
Cody Schrader, Division II, walks on at Missouri, bets on himself. He's the leading rusher in the SEC. An offensive line that was a little inexperienced last year, now experience and just dominating the line of scrimmage in the run game. You've got a defense that 2 years ago was one of the worst in college football. Coach Drink, what does he do? He hires an up-and-coming defensive coordinator named Blake Baker. That guy has turned that defense into a very good defense. It's not just this year. It's the fact that we now should have program stability. And that's necessary in Columbia. It's necessary, more necessary than at Auburn, more necessary than Florida, more necessary than Ole Miss. You've got to have continuity in Columbia, Missouri. You just have to. So man, it's so great. But here's the thing that gets me. Next year is the start of the 12-team college football playoff next year. This year, if we win out, we'd be in that playoff, and we'd probably be hosting a first-round playoff game.
Wow. That's crazy.
In my head, I'm thinking, I could be driving to Columbia to work a game in the college football playoffs?
Wow.
In Columbia?
Why not?
For Mizzou football? That gets me so excited.
Yeah.
And that starts next year. The prospect of that, 3 of Mizzou's offensive linemen should be back.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 wide receivers could be back, the top 3.
Right.
Brady Cook's only a junior.
Right.
They're going to lose a lot on the defensive side.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a team that could be good again next year.
Yeah.
And so now, again, you get to this stage after 3-4 years. Now you build on it. Now you start to get players, you add depth. Now you're just, it becomes more like a factory. Gary Pinkel got to that point where it took him 5 seasons, his 5th year. And then every year, pretty much, Missouri was relevant for the nationally for the rest of Gary Pinkel's tenure.
Right.
So
it takes a while.
I just, oh man, I'm just so thankful it happened this year, because had it not, we'd be, the thought of having to go through this all again.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough year with the Cardinals. We had a good year with the soccer team, but still we fell short those last couple of games.
Yeah. I mean,
and then it's good to have something to really root for.
Yeah. And yeah, Cardinals baseball was down. Soccer was so exciting until the end.
Right.
And Cardinals baseball was down. I mean, look, the XFL was fun, but that's not a major pro league, right? The Blues have been dominating lately, but they didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So it's good to have something in the region where you can say,
yeah,
you could
be proud of,
and say, oh my goodness, look at what's going on at Mizzou. So anyway, I'm looking forward to Saturday, Mizzou, Florida, 6:30 on ESPN, I think is the
predictions on that game.
Look, I have stayed away from doing predictions. Like I've always said, if Missouri doesn't beat Missouri, like if no bad penalties at the wrong time, no turnovers in bad moments, then they have a fighting chance to win. Florida is still in their year 2 with Billy Napier as their head coach. They're still trying to build. So Florida lost at home to Arkansas 2 weeks ago. Arkansas just got beat at home by a rebuilding Auburn team 48-10. Arkansas is not very good, and they walked into Gainesville and beat the Gators.
I think I'm worried about Arkansas. I know I shouldn't be.
So I was too after they beat Florida at Florida.
Right.
But then they go home last week, play Auburn, and lose 48-10.
Whoa.
So I'm like, oh,
okay,
maybe I shouldn't be as
good day or bad day.
Look, going there to play them, and they'll have something to play for, because right now, quite frankly, they're going to be playing for their coach's job. So Sam Pittman's in trouble at Arkansas, I think. So they're going to have something to play for, and the fact that they could beat a top 10 team at their place, because if Mizzou wins this week, they're a top 10 team still.
Right.
And Arkansas, those players are going to be like, look, we could really spoil their season.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a dangerous game.
Yeah, I'm worried about it.
I'll be honest. If Mizzou takes care of Mizzou this week, I'm not worried about this game Saturday.
Okay.
I just don't think Florida's very good. But again, it's the SEC. You never know what can happen.
Right.
Florida went to LSU last week, scored 35, but lost, gave up 52 points. So Florida's defense is not great, which is good for Missouri. But they have a good young quarterback too. So, look, Florida's any SEC team we play, it's a battle every week. It's a gauntlet.
Yeah.
They're filled with great players just like we are. So it's going to be tough. But I am confident. I'm getting to the point where I'm confident now that if Mizzou plays relatively mistake-free football, where they don't commit a lot of penalties and they don't turn the ball over, they can hang with just about anyone in that conference. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, I talked this whole half hour about Mizzou being ranked number 9.
4 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got to cut myself with black blood on this side, gold on this side today. Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be fun. I mean, we're a little early. Anything we want to promote? We got to promote Turkey Day again, right? Turkey Day game.
Turkey Day. It's
noon on Thanksgiving. Webster versus Kirkwood. Myself and Michael Langston on the call.
Right.
For those that want to tune in, remembered I had Joe Pott on earlier. SIUE men's basketball tonight and tomorrow in the Jaguar Classic in Mobile, Alabama. You can check that out on KXOK and of course on the Cougar Network. And then you've got KXOK is a part of the Cougar Network.
Right.
Picking them up. I've got SIUE women's basketball on Saturday that I'll be calling before I go to Mizzou football. They play at 2:30 against Eastern Michigan, so that'll be a good game to tune into if you want. But a lot of good stuff going on in the region. By the way, real quick before we go, how about the Blues? They go to Colorado, who's supposed to be one of the elite teams. They've struggled to start the year. They haven't been as great. They beat the Avalanche 8-2 at their place.
What is happening?
And then Tampa Bay, who's good every year, comes to St. Louis, and we beat them 5-0. I mean, the Blues have won, 4 of 5, 5 of 6?
It's because you haven't gone to the game.
That's right. The only game that I've attended in this run, they lost.
Right.
I'm staying away from Enterprise Center. Right. Trust me, I'm staying away.
As you should.
5-0 over Tampa Bay. And they're doing all this, by the way, still with the worst power play in the league.
Yeah.
But they're on even strength. They've been dominant lately. Good for the Blues, and they're on a bit of a run. So I'm interested to see how the Blues play out. I think they're on a West Coast swing now for the next several games.
Now, the year they won the Stanley Cup, they started slow.
They did. They were in last place in January.
Right. So,
and then they went on a run, got in.
Yeah. Don't mark them out yet.
That's right. They won the and Bennington has been unbelievable in net for the Blues.
Right.
All right. Thank you to Joe Pott for joining me in the first half of the show, talking SIUE sports, SIUE men's soccer, NCAA tournament tonight, ESPN Plus at 7 against Memphis, undefeated, the last undefeated NCAA soccer team in the country. Go make sure you tune in for their first round game. Mizzou football Saturday, and as always, the Mole Hole here every Thursday, next Thursday, 8 a.m. So long, everybody.
Hello, all you head